Good afternoon and Assalamualaikum. Welcome everyone to another episode of Quick and Easy Cooking with Mimi and the world's best all-in-one super kitchen machine, the Thermomix. Because it's almost Raya, at 5:15 this afternoon, yes, 45 minutes ago, I decided I might as well make cookies. So I quickly browsed through my basic cookbook and I decided why not? Why not I make the kids' favorite chocolate chip cookies, and they're super quick, they're super easy, you won't believe how easy it is. So let's get started. I modified the recipe a bit in that I don't chop the chocolate anymore. I'm using chocolate chips. And I'm going to dive straight into the mixing part. I'm going to skip the part where I have to chop the chocolate. So, oh my goodness, I forgot to take out the butter from the fridge. Hang on. So this is one of the things that you have to keep in mind when you're working with butter. Unless the recipe specifically says so, if it says that the butter should be at room temperature, assume that they want the butter cold. Because we want the dough to be easy to work with, so we keep it as cold as possible and we take it out at the last moment. And because we live in Malaysia and somehow in my area there's a lot of ants, so I have to keep my sugar in the fridge as well until I'm ready to use it. So let's get started. We start with 130 grams of butter, unsalted, cut into pieces. So they're very detailed. It says unsalted, cut into pieces. But they didn't say anything about it cold or room temperature. Assume it is cold. So you just dump it right in. Here's my bowl. It's empty. So we dump the cubes of butter in. And then we add our sugar, 100 grams. Okay, you will see that it will use both white and brown sugar, and there's a reason for that. The white sugar will make it crispy, and the brown sugar will make it soft. So there's a reason, and brown sugar is not as sweet as white sugar. And then we add 1 egg, as usual. We break it into a bowl before we add it in so that we don't waste our butter and sugar. And then we add either vanilla sugar or handmade vanilla paste. Please ignore if you see a cat roaming around in the background. He's fine, he just wants to get out of the house. I think he's been locked down too long. So I have a teaspoon of vanilla paste, homemade vanilla paste, which we made a few weeks ago in one of my previous episodes. And then that's it. Now we're going to cover it, and it's going to mix for us for 2 minutes on speed 3. Meanwhile, I have my flour and my chocolate chips. I also have baking soda, baking powder, and a pinch of salt. And I've got my baking tin ready, and I've got my oven preheated at 180 C. Yeah, put it here. 2 minutes is a long time. Okay, so for this one, I plan to make them tiny because they cook fast, and also, you know, it's just one bite at a time. So I'm going to use spoons. But if you like to make them big, you can also use your ice cream scoop. So if, say, you're selling cookies, this is an easy way of making sure that your cookies are uniform. So you scoop them with this thing, and then you pack them in, and then, so that's one baking hack for you there. Unfortunately, this is the smallest one that I could find. If I can find something smaller, I would buy it. Okay, so we have these ready, oven ready. Now we just wait. So as you can see, the basic cookbook is not that basic. It contains a lot of recipes, including mashed potatoes, one of our all-time favorites. And there's bread. It's not that basic at all. And then you even have a detailed diagram of how to shape your baguettes. This is one of the first things I did when I first got my Thermomix. In my first week, I made baguettes, all the things I wanted to do but I couldn't do. Milk bread, it looks very impressive when you plate it. And then you have juices, you have dressings, you have jam. Jam is very, very good. You have cream caramel. You have tiramisu even, super easy. Muffins, super quick. And this is what we're making, the chocolate chip cookies. Okay, it's done. 2 minutes is super fast. We're gonna add the flour now. Okay, quick tip. The recipe uses all-purpose flour, but I personally like to use bread flour for my cookies because they add a little chewy feel to the cookies. So this is actually high-protein flour, but the recipe says all-purpose flour. So you might want to play a bit with that if you wish. And then add our baking soda, our baking powder, and our pinch of salt. Then we mix it again for 40 seconds on speed 4. Super fast. Today actually is a very tiring day. I had a lot of work to finish over the weekend, so yeah, taking things slow and sitting down. Yes, you can make cookies sitting down. So the Thermomix is actually a good investment if you are doing things like cookies or door gifts, because you can have so much variety at your fingertips. You just search in Cookie Do from 58,000 choices, and depending on what ingredients you have and how much time you want to spend on the recipe, you have so many choices to choose from. And you can go Italian, you can go French, you can go Spanish, so many options, British even. Okay? And now we add our chocolate chips. If you wish, we can scrape it down a bit if you wish. And then this is how it looks like. And we dump our chocolate chips in. There we go. And this is gonna mix for the next 30 seconds on speed 2. I'm even gonna reduce that. Never mind, we follow the recipe. You can actually take a peek. I'm fine with 15 seconds. And that's it. And exactly as per the recipe, it says using 2 teaspoons, form the dough into walnut-sized balls and place them 5 centimeters apart on your baking trays. Bake them for about 10 to 15 minutes or until the cookies are golden brown. So I'm going to make the first batch tiny so that they will all cook at the same time. The second batch will be the big ones using our cookie scoop. I've done this recipe before in the early days of the MCO. What was that? 2 months ago? I've forgotten. But at that time it was my son, my youngest son. He was not quite 8 years old then, and he made it by himself. But because he was the one who did it, so it wasn't that quick. When actually it's very quick. I want to show you how quick. So I'm doing it again now. And I'm making them small so that they bake fast. And I can guarantee you, you are better off doubling the recipe when you are making this, because it's so good. Your kids will love them, I can guarantee. And it costs so little when you calculate the cost. It's only 180 grams of flour. And then the most expensive will probably be the chocolate chips. But I would easily say this is maybe 10 ringgit or less. And you can get so much from it. And the taste is just wonderful because you are using real butter. Not buttercup, but real butter. I'm using, yes, unsalted butter. And the butter that you use, it will have a huge effect on the taste of your cookies. So just like this, macam main-main je as though you're playing. You just make tiny blobs of dough, and as it bakes, you need to space it apart because as it bakes, it will spread. That's it. Okay, meanwhile I'm gonna do my larger cookies. We still have a lot. I'm gonna set aside my spoons. And this is how you make your large cookies. Just like that. Okay, I might want to move them here because they're big and they will spread out. Super fast, right? Told you. Years ago, I used to make chocolate chip cookies and I would sell them ringgit a piece or 10 ringgit per jar. So you can imagine how much margin I was making. Oh, now I have nothing to do. So we have a little bit of dough left. I'm going to use my spatula to scrape it out. And then I will do pre-clean so you can see how easy it is to clean the bowl. Something that is normally a pain to do if you are using a manual mixer. So as you can see, the spatula is firm enough to scrape down the dough. Cookie dough is not as soft as cake batter. At the same time, the end is flexible to make it easy to scrape the last bit out. And they bake for about 10 to 15 minutes, and when they come out, they will come out still looking soft. And what you do is you make them cool down, and as they cool, they become crispy. And if your oven heating is not even, you can also rotate your pan halfway through. So I have this here, and I want to take the dough that's in between the blades. So I'm going to do my 2-second speed pan trick. 2 seconds, speed 10. And you get the dough on the sides of the bowl, so it's easier to scrape down, scrape out. See? And you should always scrape from behind the blunt side so that your spatula is not damaged. And when you scrape, you start off with the sides, so you scrape from the sides, same thing here at the bottom. And then later on, once the sides are clean, you move the hard part of your spatula at the middle here, behind the blades, so that you can get the dough that is right under the blades. And you get about 99% of the dough out. Okay? So we have this to do later. I don't want to mix it with the big ones because the cooking time would be different. And then I'm just going to pre-clean this now by adding water, 1 liter. There's a mark here for 1 liter, so it's easy. So it's just water, I don't even add soap. I see a chocolate chip, I want to save the chocolate chip. There you go. And then swipe, I go to pre-clean and I just turn it on. The Thermomix will determine for me how long it takes, and it will warm the water so it will melt the butter and the sugar and the chocolate that's in there. So it's much easier to clean. So this part, you don't even have to figure out how long it takes, because Thermomix will figure out for you how dirty it is. I'm gonna check on my cookies and rotate the baking tin. And you can see that they've started to spread out. You can also see that the tiny blobs I did were not that tiny at all, so I think I'm going to distance these a bit more, because I think they will spread a bit more. These are going to be gigantic. And if chocolate chip cookies are not your thing, there are thousands more of other cookie recipes you can try. So I love this part. I used to hate baking, not because of the actual baking, but because of the cleaning that comes afterwards. But because of the pre-cleaning function of the TM6, I absolutely love baking. Okay, so now it's done. I'm just gonna pour out the water. And look at our bowl. It's practically clean. Super easy, right? So I'm just giving it a rinse and it's done. It's ready for my next dish, whatever it may be. So I'm just waiting for this to brown, and then I'm putting this in, and that's it. That's how easy it is. So if, say, you're done with this, then you can easily make another batch. People always ask, what's the quantity you can do in one go? I'm like, it doesn't really matter, because whatever quantity that's stated there, you can always do super fast. The longest was the mixing, 2 minutes, right? And then maybe less than 3 minutes, you're done. And then, you know, the rest of it is manual. You have to place the blobs, or you have to do the scooping thing, and then you have to do the baking. So your oven is more of your oven. What's the capacity of your oven? That's what I should be asking you. How fast can you work on the dough, and how fast can your oven bake them? The actual mixing is super fast. It's the same thing with bread. People always ask, what's the maximum amount of flour I can make? I said, what's the maximum amount of dough that you can work with at any given time, because after it's needed, you have to shape it, and then you have to place them into whatever baking tins you're using. So that part is the more labor-intensive part. The actual kneading and mixing is super fast. And then of course there's the proofing, waiting for it to rise, and then waiting for it to bake. Those are the things that you have to take into consideration. But the actual mixing, the actual kneading is super fast, because of the unique German motor that is frictionless. It's a magnetic motor, so that when it spins, there is no part that is physically touching another part. So it moves efficiently and smoothly, whether going forward or backwards. And that's why these babies, they last many years. We have customers who have theirs for like 25-30 years, really old models, like 4 or 5 generations ago, and it's still in good working condition. This is the kind of investment you're making. German technology at its finest, I can tell you. Okay, I can smell it now. The nose always knows. It's almost done. I'm gonna take a peek again. Yep, it's almost done. I'm gonna get my rack. So I've got my cooling rack, and I will get ready with the next batch. Perfect. So this is gonna be hot, so be careful. What I will do is I will just slide them out. They're still quite soft, but they will turn crispy as it cools. So just handle them carefully. And remember, you are fasting and you cannot take a bite just yet. This is wonderful on its own, or dipped in a glass of cold milk. Ooh, I'm so looking forward to iftar today. Look at that. So in only 20 minutes, you can have your cookies ready. So right after this, go grab your ingredients and make your own batch of cookies. You can easily make 2 batches between now and buka puasa. Super easy, right? Baking is also super fast. And you can add whatever you want to add. Maybe you want to add some almonds or walnuts. Maybe you mix white and dark chocolate. And that's it. Super easy, quickest and easiest chocolate chip cookies in the world right here. Thanks to the world's best German super kitchen machine, the Thermomix. I hope you had fun today, just as much as I did. Join me again tomorrow, 6 p.m., same place, live here on Facebook. Thank you so much. Selamat berbuka puasa and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.